And we've been able to generate then a lot more people that want to do advertisement. I mean, we almost tripled, maybe quadrupled the amount of corporate sponsors that we had this year than what we did the first year.
Hello and welcome to the Daktronics Experience Podcast. I'm Justin Oxner here with Matt Anderson. Today we're joined by Tony Hoops, the athletic director at Bethel College in Newton, Kansas. He's here to tell us about his role at Bethel, installing a new video display for their football stadium that supports multiple sports, how he manages his sponsorships, and the overall impact of the display. And we're here today with Tony from Bethel College. How you doing, Tony?
Doing great.
How about Matt? How you doing over there 6 feet away from me?
I'm doing good, Justin. Thank you.
All right. Tony, can you give us a little background on yourself and how you got to the position that you're in today?
Yeah, so Tony Hoops, I'm a Bethel graduate, actually, a 2005 Bethel grad, and went and left Bethel and played basketball there for 4 years, had a great experience, and never really thought I'd be back there working at any point in time, and just kind of life transforms itself. But coached high school and taught high school for about 9 or 10 years. Had the opportunity to come back to Bethel and take over a program that was kind of struggling in 2014. So I coached basketball for 4 years. And in 2017, had the opportunity, president asked me to take over as athletic director. And so I took on that challenge. Not sure I really knew what I was getting myself into at the time. My wife probably maybe has some different ideas about maybe I should have taken the job, especially that first year when I was doing basketball and AD at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Nonetheless, it's been a great experience. And now I'm just finishing up my third year as athletic director and full-time as the athletic director now. So it's been a great experience and a very good opportunity for me.
Nice. Is being an athletic director, was that always something kind of in the back of your mind you were hoping to be someday, or kind of what were your thoughts? I know you said you did a lot of coaching prior to, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, it was definitely, administration was something I wanted to do. My master's was in educational leadership. And so I kind of envisioned myself being more of a high school assistant principal / AD, somewhere in that capacity. Really didn't anticipate, looking at it from an athletic director perspective at the college level, but sometimes plans get put in place in front of you and you come up with a great opportunity, and that's where it was for me. And so it probably fast forwarded my career maybe by 5 or 7 years than maybe what I thought it would, but I don't regret it at all. I enjoy it. I was able to promote my assistant coach, who happened to be my college roommate, to be the head coach of the basketball program.
Oh, wow.
And I moved into the full-time AD role. And so it's really been a good experience for me and definitely fulfilling. And we got 2 young kids, and so that it makes life a little bit. I'm busier, but a more controlled busy. So it's kind of fun to have that element as well.
Nice. You say you're busier. What's your typical day like? I'm sure it's got to be different every day.
Yeah, really, it's going to vary from day to day, which is what I really enjoy the most about my job, is that it is different each and every day. So I oversee 17 sports here at Bethel, which would be 12 head coaches and a staff of approximately about 35 people overall, between athletic training and assistant coaches, head coaches, et cetera there. So, some of the key elements of my job that I probably do the most would be budget management, fundraising, game day management, recruiting oversight of all of our coaches programs, and then some capital facility projects, which is where we worked with Daktronics the most on that one there. So, as far as what my overall day would look like, it's going to vary, but I'm really still passionate about teaching. And so I teach a class virtually almost every Monday, Wednesday, Friday in our health management department program and a sports management department specifically there. So that's enjoyable for me. And I do that early in the morning so I can just kind of knock it out, and it allows me to stay engaged with other student athletes on campus yet. But then I serve on our presidential cabinet or in coaches meetings, all that stuff there then as well. And then that kind of leads into the afternoon and evenings of game day activities and management and stuff like that in the evenings, which, fortunately I'm married to my wife, who is a great volleyball player at Bethel as well. And so she understands athletics. And so our kids kind of are just little athletic gurus at Bethel College, and they enjoy what they do. And it's a lot of fun. So we pretty much live at the events. And if we don't, my kids are usually upset, because then they're bored out of their minds like they are right now, having to deal with mom and dad.
Nice.
No, that's very interesting. We're talking about, the jump you made. You said like fast forward a number of years to becoming an athletic director. And I got to imagine right away when you have so many different sports and head coaches, right? The challenge is you probably spend a lot of time going around just meetings with everyone, right? To try and get to understand all the different sports and what they entail.
It really is. I mean, it's interesting, working from home right now. My wife is like, all you do is meetings. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of pretty much what I do. And I enjoy it. I'm a people person, so I enjoy that aspect of it. But there is times I look forward to 4:00 in the afternoon a lot of time. That's when my coaches are all at practices. And so I can shut my door and just kind of get some things done for a couple hours. And that's kind of enjoyable there as well. But then usually I put off the things that I don't want to get done at that point in time too. So it's probably a lose-lose overall.
Yeah. So Bethel kind of stands out as one of the schools that's got a video display in the NAIA. Can you tell us what it was like to go through the process of installing a video display for football?
Yeah, really unique for us. We enjoyed it. It's been a great experience for us. We didn't really get into it. So kind of backtrack here. When I took over as athletic director, about day 2 on the job, they came to me and said, hey, by the way, we need to redo the turf on our football and soccer fields. And we had put in a new facility in 2005, and it was 2017 at that point in time, in the summer of 2017, I believe that was when it was. And so I started looking at all that. And of course, if you even talk about turf or even like think about turf, then like 1,000 turf companies end up in your office. And so you have more infill. I think I had more infill than I did carpet in my office by the time I was done with that first year. But as that kind of built into it, we also knew that we needed to replace our scoreboard that got hit by lightning in the spring of that year. And it was an older board that needed to be replaced anyway. So it was probably a blessing that it got hit by lightning to sped up that process.
It was a sign.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a sign for sure. So late in that process, it was probably, it might have been mid-April, maybe early May. We were scheduled to start the turf installation about the second week of June, and my development director came to me and said, "Hey, we're struggling a little bit here. We don't have all the funds raised, and we have a campus policy where we have to have all the funds raised up front." And so we reached out to some corporate sponsors to finish the project out for us. And in order to do that, I felt like it was necessary for us that there's got to be something in it for our corporate sponsors. They're not just going to give to a turf project just to give. And so I pitched the idea. I said, what if we get creative with our marketing approach here and allow them some creative technology with a video board? And so I started looking into it and figuring out some pricing on it as far as what it would look like. And when we pitched it to our corporate donors, they were much more inclined to want to give. And we feel like we were giving something back to them, not just trying to get something from them, but trying to create that working relationship with them. As a small college athletics, you're asking small towns so much to try and give. And I felt like, if we're going to do this, let's at least do it right. And they were really excited about that. And I think that allowed us to really kind of close. And as a result of that, that's kind of led to the conversations about how we built that relationship with Daktronics and whatnot. There's a lot of details out of that as well that I could go into as well.
So you were able to combine essentially the turf project with the video board project, or did it go mainly video board and you handled the turf later?
So we actually did them both at the same time, and probably in a reverse order of what I wanted to do. We ended up, so the turf ended up coming in. We started turf about the 1st of July, and then throughout that summer, because we had to work on some of those corporate deals. We had some agreements, but we were trying to finalize some of them and working through a fiscal year at the same time. So it was probably about late July when we finally got all that piece together. And so that's when we really started working with Ryan Koonsma there at Daktronics and got him to help us put this video board, make it a reality. And so we actually we put in the new turf, but then we weren't actually to get the video board up until like maybe our 3rd football game of the year. So it was our 2nd home game of the year. So we had a debut of our turf on our home game of the 1st game of the year. And then we were away the 2nd week. We came in and put up the video board then about before week 3 on what I would say is, it's pretty windy in Kansas typically. And it was one of the windiest days I can ever remember in my entire life. And watching that video board go up and swinging around on the crane, I was cringing like none other, but it's in place and we've had no issues with it since. So that's a good thing for us for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's quite the exciting 3 weeks there for your fans. I'm curious, kind of from a marketing perspective too. When you first started thinking that you were going to need a video board, how do you even begin that process? Like, do you just, if you were to open up a Google window, what do you search? Do do you search Jumbotron, or like, what do you think, how do you find that?
Well, for us, it was kind of a nice piece. So I had met with Daktronics at the NAI National Convention it was probably in late March, early April. And at this point in time, we were kind of surface level talking about this. A good friend of mine and mentor is an associate AD at KU. And I know that KU obviously works with Daktronics as well. And so he had kind of talked about some of the things they had done at a baseball renovation and softball and some of the kind of smaller, low key video board stuff that they were looking at. And so it kind of piqued my interest.
Okay.
And what really got me intrigued by it, honestly, was the pricing of it. It was a case where, yeah, it cost us more, but we were going to put up a new scoreboard anyway. And so if we're going to put up the scoreboard, and then we looked at the video board going up with it, we felt like, so many times we build stadiums and all they are is just money sucking revenue. There's no revenue being created out of it. And we felt like if we put up this video board, now all of a sudden, maybe you're paying a little bit more on the front end, but it wasn't astronomically that much more for what we were going to do when we were already putting up a scoreboard anyway. I'm like, well, my pitch to our development team and our president was, well, instead of putting up something that's just going to suck the money out of us for another 10 years, why don't we put up something that can create revenue at the same time? And that's kind of how it really got pitched for us. And it's been, I wouldn't say it's met every single, as far as what we thought it would do, as far as how much money we've created, but we're on we're only in year 2 or year 3 of this. So we're really just trying to, on the surface level, figuring out how much revenue we can create out of it. But it's made our facility pop. And I think it's been a huge recruiting tool for us in other instances as well.
I was just going to bring up the recruiting tool of kind of being something to be able to show people when they come on and visit you at campus.
Yeah, it really has. And our coaches have really embraced that. It's kind of fun, so we have especially I'll take specifically like our football team, they'll bring in a kid and they'll walk him out to the stadium, and then they always have their highlight video playing on the stadium, and so there's days where it's just snowing like crazy and they still bring him out there and kids are taking pictures, and then my office sits over the top of this, and so I can kind of see it, and I'm like, man, that looks miserable out there right now, but they're always taking pictures in front of the video board with their highlight video playing in the background of it with some music, and it's really cool, and it's not hard. I mean, it's like our assistant football coaches just do it, and they just take it and they run with it. So it's been a great tool for that. It's really been good for us too, in the fact that like ESPN3, we have a contract with them so that we always host one football game every year that's on ESPN3. And so with that comes a lot of media timeouts, obviously. Well, in small college athletics, you're not really designed to fill the time of a 3-minute media timeout 4 times throughout, or actually 8 times throughout a game. And so this has been a great filler for us. We love it. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Our fans really enjoy it. We play a lot of promotional videos. We play a lot of just Bethel College videos and connecting the campus to the academic side and all that stuff there then as well. Our alumni really like it too, because it's fun for them to see, well, maybe we'll do a hero or something like that. This past year was like the 150th anniversary of football. So we always did a historical context of a football alum. And so we put up either a highlight video of them in between the first and the second quarter and play that, and then have them on the field watching it. And just, it's really interactive for us. So it's kind of fun. Maybe don't hold this against me, but I'm a big Nebraska football fan. And so I always go to one Nebraska game a year. And so what I find myself now is I just go to these larger event venues and I just put in notes like, hey, let's try this, and see if we can kind of make it our own. And it's really kind of fun to do that. I'll come back and I'll tell my SID who does most of the stuff, hey, let's try this and this. And he looks at me like, you realize how much time that's going to take? I'm like, yeah, but it'd be great, And so we try these new things each and every time. And so now we just create this script for us and go with it. But it's one, like, for example, one of them this past year, our mascot is the Threshers. And so we have a hometown Thresher video each time. So basically kids that are from either in the state of Kansas, or we know their families are going to be at the game, we do a highlight of them, like, hey, they were born at this, and we show a baby picture of them and just kind of guess this athlete, et cetera. It's just fun for us and interactive, and the crowd likes it, and it's a lot of fun.
I'm going to say, you have now what we will sometimes call the Daktronics curse, is now that you have a video board, everywhere you go and you see those, you start talking about them. And we've mentioned before, whenever I go to a sporting event with buddies and I start calling out different things of how they're using the display, it usually takes a little bit into the game, and then they turn to me and tell me to shut up and stop talking about the LED display so much. But it's like, I can't not think of it now every time I'm around them. So
yes, I agree. I'll go to some other I'll go to our away games in places that don't have video boards, and pretty much nobody in our conference does, and I just get bored. Like they timeouts and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, they're missing out on this, et cetera. So it's good times for sure.
So you talked about the production of it and different ideas that you could do. Do you guys have like a production room on campus right there where you do all the productions from? Is it like in the stadium or is it close by?
We really don't. Well, kind of a combination. So our SID, he does a tremendous job with this. And then we have my head soccer coach is a younger guy that's really good with graphic stuff. And so he does a little bit of it as well. And then we have an assistant football coach that's really, really good at some of this stuff too. So they're kind of the combination of those three. They kind of share the laptop that we have that has the controls on it, but we don't really actually have a production room. But then when it comes to piecing it all together, we use mostly just our press box and piece it together. And that works well for us. I mean, as far as everybody kind of knows what their role is on particular game days or when it's being used at certain times. And so we haven't really run into any issues. In theory, if we had some sort of a game cast or some sort of a online production studio on campus, it would be great. And we talk about that, and it's like, man, we would love to do that. We just don't have that major at Bethel right now.
Okay.
And so because of that, we're kind of, it's more in-house for what we do, and it's fine. We make it work.
Yeah. So who are the operators then that help during the games? Is it students, or I know you mentioned you have coaching staff that kind of help with the graphics and everything, but when it comes to
so it's kind of interesting. So basically what we do, and this is evolving every year. In year one, we're like, hey, we had a graphic design studio. And so we had them trying to do some stuff on the front end, and that really helped us create some graphics and just some basic things on the front end that were fun. But they weren't able to run it on game days. And so we were like, well, now what do we do? And so now it's really kind of just evolved into, at least this past year, I thought was really between our assistant football coach and our sports information director. They create all the content. So we meet on like Monday. So for example, we have a home football game on Saturday. We would meet on a Monday morning. We would go through all the game day management stuff of what we need, what needs to be in the graphics, what are we wanting to highlight? Maybe it's homecoming, whatever it is. We put all that together, and then we take that week and say, okay, you're in charge of this, this, and this. We need to create this video. These recruits are going to be on campus. We want these pictures up. We need all this. We have a shared Google Drive folder. Then we put it all in there. And basically my rule of thumb is when I go home at Friday at whatever that is, maybe 10 o'clock at night, then all that needs to be done, because then when we come back Saturday, it needs to be all uploaded then Saturday morning into the control panels of the show studio and stuff. And then on Saturday game days, we actually had a senior, it's actually a men's basketball player, ran it for us this year and did a great job. So we're all connected on a headset throughout the game between 6 or 7 of us, and one of those individuals was the individual running the video board. And so, you try and script that as best you can as what you want, but something crazy happens. And so, hey, next time out, we want to do this video. Make sure you're looking at your sheet. And I just try and give them cues. Mm-hmm. And it works really well. And the kids really embrace it. They have fun with it. It's a campus job that everybody wants. So definitely it's one that we want to make sure that we promote and hire the right person. And this past year, it worked out great.
I was just going to say that's what we love hearing from customers too, because that's a really good experience for those students, right? To get in there for whatever they may do after they graduate, but that's like broadcast video production type experience that they can get because you have a video board there now.
Oh, absolutely. It's some of the best hands-on training that there is. And quite frankly, to be honest with you, I would not trust myself up there, not because it's terribly hard, but I would just screw it up probably. Whereas, these 18 to 22-year-old, 23-year-old kids, like I call them kids, but I mean, they're technologically sound and they know what to do. And to them, it's just an easy process, and they get creative and, hey, maybe you should try this, or next game, can we do this? And it's like, sometimes you have to temper them into it, but it's fun and it's creative. And, it's no different. Like I want every one of my coaches to take ownership of our athletic program, just like I want every one of our student workers to take ownership of their job. And if you hire the right person, they'll do that. And that's kind of what we had this year.
Nice. So you do that for football, right? And you're talking about games on Saturdays. Do you support other sports in the same venue?
Yeah, so we have using that facility would be obviously both of our soccer programs. And so we use soccer has their own platform for that as well. Then obviously we have track meets out there, and I'm probably forgetting something else that we use out there as well. But ultimately, we have multiple sporting events going on there. And then as a result of this video board too, I should emphasize, we've been able to get a lot of external events that want to use our campus. Some local high schools like, oh, wow, we'd really like to use your facility. You have a video board, new turf, and stuff like that. So that's been good for us. So it's created some extra revenue. It's been a good recruiting tool. Like, for example, we host the 6-man football all-star game now on our campus, which, to those kids, when you put something up on a video board, like they're just going nuts because they just haven't seen that. And so it's pretty cool and be able to do some different things like that. But yeah, definitely switch it between venues and or different sport platforms.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's always cool to hear how either there's side benefits maybe you didn't expect up first, but hearing about how people use either the display or their venue for things, I know we say off season, but I know there really is no off season, but but having a nice venue like that really draws in those types of activities is always great to hear. And then you've kind of hinted at this throughout it, Tony, too, but whenever we talk to customers, when they go from no display to a display, that first year, right, a lot of it is just trying to figure it out. What are you going to do? And then you've even mentioned, you've had it for 2 to 3 years now. After you're comfortable with how it goes, then you start getting more confident. You start doing more creative things, trying new and different things, and you really evolve that game day experience.
Yeah, it really is. Every year it's something like, in year one, it was like, well, we want to do everything. And we realized really quickly that we were bad at everything because we just didn't know what we were doing. And, so year one, it was really a lot of just still graphics and just trying to get something up there, and we were not prepared for it. We didn't know what we were doing. And you're kind of, we put it up in the middle of football season, as I mentioned. And so, you're in the middle of fall sports, our busiest time of the year. You just didn't have time to create a lot of this stuff. And so we were just basic, and people loved it because they didn't know any different. Yeah, and then year two, we really started expanding on that. And so I'm sure this coming year we'll come up with some more creative things too. But I would say this, this is maybe a good and a bad thing for them. It creates more work. It really does. It's good and it's fun and it's interactive, but to do it right, you're creating more work. And as I look back, as far as when we did football before we had a video board and when we do football now after a video board, or even soccer before and after, it's completely different. Or even track meets too. Like now all of a sudden we're syncing real-time results to the video board. So people are seeing people finish in a 100-meter dash and they're seeing the results immediately, spontaneously on the video board. Whereas before, you're waiting for a printed sheet and whatever else. And so, all this stuff is great and it's fun and it's not hard. It just takes, I don't even know if it's more work at times. Sometimes it's just more coordination and that's okay. But that's part of me it's part of my job that I love. One of my favorite things is creating a great game day experience. I always tell our just in general, we can't control the results. It's hard to accept as an AD or as a coach or as a player. You can't control the results, but as an AD, I always promote is we can control the experience. And a video board allows us to control the experience so that even if we didn't perform real well, I still want my fans walking out of there, my alumni walking out and saying, you know what, that was still worth the price of admission because that was a good experience for me. And I think the video board adds a lot to that if we do it right.
That's awesome, Tony. And I'm thinking back now to the sponsors you mentioned, at the beginning when you were trying to get this project off the ground, having to go around to local businesses and different things to try and get money for this. What has the feedback been like from them in the last 2 or 3 years since you've gotten this video board?
Overall, really good. It's been a good working relationship that we've been able to have with them. It's fun. And, it's one of those deals where the 4 main corporate sponsors that we did when we put this together, they were on board with it right away just because they trusted what we were doing. The excitement has been the piece of being able to expand to get sponsors that were not connected to our college before that are now wanting to be connected to our college. I know some other ADs that really think there's great value in print signage. I think it's a total pain in the butt to do it, to be honest with you. When I can get a video graphic and have that up now in 10 seconds almost, and I don't have to worry about a print signage or something that, the local, restaurant that, all of a sudden went out of business or didn't want to sponsor the next year. Well, now we have their sign and we spent $150 on their sign. And now what do we do with it? Well, now we just throw it away. Do we hang on to it year to year? Well, now the digital side of that is sign your 1-year contract. This is what it is. And, then we can do renewals or, whatever. Typically we try and do more than 1 year, 3 to 5 year. But if somebody backs out of something, we're not out the cost of any money. And so in that aspect, it's been good. And we've been able to generate then a lot more people that want to do advertisement. I mean, we almost tripled, maybe quadrupled the amount of corporate sponsors that we had this year than what we did the first year.
Wow.
And it's just because word spreads and people enjoy it. And crazy enough, we've charged more in year 2 than what we did in year 1 as well. So
Demand,
go do the math on that as well. But
Right.
we just had a big corporate meeting we're working on a new softball facility here, or some additions to our softball facility, and had a corporate meeting. And the only thing that was, individuals are saying, well, we would like to, be a sponsor and more, be more visible on your campus. And that's great. And so we gave them some different ideas. And the number one thing was, well, yeah, we want to be on your video board. And I think that's just, people just see that as an iconic opportunity. And so we run ads almost all game long, unless there's something that we need to show. So, for example, first quarter, we just have the ads just keep on running on a loop, and it's really easy for us to do. And then when it hit a quarter, or when, maybe we run a quick replay or something like that, but we just keep the ads running. And so I think our corporate businesses are getting way more than their money in terms of what they invested into us. And we're perfectly fine with that. Might as well use it instead of having just a still graphic at times.
Right. And do you allow them to maybe change their messaging throughout the year since it's digital, or is it generally they have their main ad?
Mostly their main ad. I guess it's actually a good idea. We probably should reach out and say what do you want to do and how do you want to do it. What we're really trying to work on now is trying to connect our media presentation all together, so that when we're running something on a video board, we want to make sure that we have that at the same time going on over the loudspeakers. So, for example, this past year we had a local business that was a barbecue place in town that was they were sponsor of a kicking challenge at halftime every single time of a football game. And so we would throw out miniature footballs in between, sometime in the first quarter, with their graphic then up on the wall.
Nice.
Or on the board. And then at halftime, obviously then we're promoting their business. We're doing the kicking challenge, their graphics up there. And we kind of have some funny, just different animations and people shanking field goals and stuff at the same time going with it. And so then we have people kicking into that as well. So trying to coordinate the two, I think it's not hard. It's just, once again, it's attention to detail.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking too about, you talked about how you go to different games now and you're taking down all these notes. I didn't know if that spilled over into the sponsors now when they go to events and they're seeing other sponsorship things done on the video boards. Did they come back to you then with a bunch of random things scribbled down?
It hasn't happened yet, but don't put it past them. I'm sure it'll probably happen.
You want me to edit that part out? Do you want me to have that?
Yeah, no doubt. So probably here pretty soon, then we'll get all these phone calls like, "Hey, we want to do this with this. I saw this at the the Oklahoma City Thunder game the other night." And I'm like, yeah, they got a full studio running that thing too. But nonetheless, no, it's fun. But that's what we want out of that. If our sponsors are taking an active investment into their sponsorship, well, then to me that tells me that they care and that they're not just giving it to some donation that they don't really expect any return on. We want to give them a return on their investment and want to be able to meet their needs. And I think this is a way in which we can do so in a different element.
Yeah, that's really cool. You get to see all those different ideas that come flowing with that. And you talked about the money side of it and actually saying price was a thing that caught your eye. What kind of advice would you give for somebody else that's in the same situation looking for a video display if they're worried about the cost?
One I would look at is truly look at what you're going to spend on just a generic board. If you're going to put up a generic scoreboard, which obviously everybody has one, what are you really going to, what's your money investment that you're going to do? And even to that extreme, we initially were going to put up a smaller video board and we're all set and keen on it. And then all of a sudden, as I started piecing it together and I saw some others that had that smaller video, I'm like, that's not going to meet our needs. The worst thing I want to do is put up a video board and people couldn't see it. And so we tried to go a little bit bigger. Obviously I wanted to go bigger than what we even did, but I think for what our size of school is and what we were willing to invest, we made it work for us and it's been fun. But, for advice I would give is a lot of it would be is look at what kind of revenue this is going to create for you. It's monumental, honestly, in terms of your return on investment is going to be significantly higher. And I think in part of that then too is how much time are you going to save? I know I mentioned that you're adding time in terms of the complexity of creating ideas and innovative ideas, but I think that's a different time. How much time are you going to save though on some of the doldrum things of just trying to work with local print companies to get something done so that you can get their graphic on a whatever, a vinyl cover that's going to blow away a lot of times or something like that. And so I think that helps a lot. I would also encourage people because of this video board, what can you do that adds experiences to your campus, that helps recruitment, helps retention, and it also helps bring revenue to your campus and other elements. I mentioned, for example, we use this to host local games now. We're able to host some more playoff games and stuff like that. Well, that's more revenue that we're bringing into the college. We're bringing more people onto our campus. We have way more traction on our campus now than what we've ever had before, just because of a video board that people think is unique and opportunistic for us. And even little things too, like we use our video board at graduation. We have an outdoor graduation.
Yeah.
So we run pictures of things going on during graduation, and people loved it. Well, they had no connection to the stadium whatsoever. But once again, it was about creating an experience. And so it wasn't just about a football platform. It was about the entire Bethel entity, and how, people that didn't even know we even had that out there, now all of a sudden they loved it. And I think that just creates a better memory for their entire experience as an athlete, or even just as a general student at our college.
That's awesome. We're talking about, this is a big project to take on. It's been a great success, it sounds like. Now, with you having this facility, are you getting any kind of pressure at your other facilities, or what kind of big projects are you guys kind of working on now?
Yeah, so probably the biggest pressure is probably my own mind, is trying to calm myself down, as far as what we want to do with other elements there. So, I think ultimately we would like to expand this into, our gymnasium. We'd like to expand it even into a softball facility, something like that. It just takes time and what we're going to do. But in my opinion, there's a lot of different elements that we could do that really adds to the experience overall. And so for us, I think it's we wanted to try this out. Felt like if we did it right, maybe it leads to other platforms and other venues that could be used. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I think people are willing, at least my donor base, once they see the results of it, I think that my donor base is more willing to invest into something like this in the future, which would be fun. And I think I'd add that too, is like the worst thing I think you can do is put up a video board and then not use it right. You're really ruining the experience, and quite frankly, wasting a lot of money in terms of what you're trying to do. And so I think that's an important thing there then too. It does take work. And so if you're going to do it right, because otherwise you're doing a huge disservice to your constituents and all elements. Do it right, put the time and energy and effort into it, because quite frankly, I think it's a lot of fun. It's just a matter of paying attention to the details, and it's not even so much a lot more work for me. It's just, it's outsourcing it to people that are passionate about this stuff. And there's so many younger people, especially out there, that love it. Let them take it and go with it. I mean, to me, I'd rather have to rein somebody back in instead of trying to prod somebody to do more of it.
Yeah, it's interesting a concept though, right? You find that people are passionate about it is another really great tip, because when you're finding those people and they want to work on it, they're definitely going to make that thing pop, and they're going to make it worth it. And then, if you don't do it right, like you're saying, then now you have this obstacle. If you're ever looking to do something similar at like a baseball field, softball field, whatever it may be, and the first one kind of didn't go over so well, now it's a lot harder almost, it seems like, to have that discussion because of something like that.
Oh, you're exactly right. I mean, it's no different than anything. When you fundraise for a large project, whether that's a video board or whatever it might be, if you don't do it right, well, it makes fundraising for the next project a lot harder.
Yeah.
So doing it right is really, really important. And I'll go back to getting the right people in place. Like for example, my women's soccer coach, he doesn't get paid anything to do some of this video stuff. He just loves doing it. And that's, I think, to me, like, people are willing to do it. It's fun. They see the advantage of it. It's not like I'm having to pull teeth to get people to do it. And in many cases, I could probably get some student workers, and, granted, they want to make a little bit of a minimum wage, hourly wage to do it. But even then, like, bring them in, let them have fun with it, create some elements that make it worthwhile, and then we go with it. So I have had zero problems of trying to find people that want to help make it a great production. In many cases, it's just a matter of finding the right people that are willing to stay committed to it.
Nice. So you said that you thought this is kind of fun sometimes. So we kind of want to know, what do you think is the most fun part of your job altogether?
Oh, that's a great question there. I think in general, my favorite part about my job is probably seeing experiences created for our fans and our alumni base and just our college in general that people are proud of and that people walk away from and saying that was a great experience. And part of that goes into recruiting the right athlete, and that goes to recruiting the right fits, as well as finding great players and great athletes themselves, and then having great coaches that lead in a positive way and building that culture and building winning programs. And so you have that, and then you combine it with facilities, and you combine it with experiences, and you combine it with treating people the right way and honoring people in different ways. I think then for me, my ultimate thrill and enjoyment is when people walk away and say, wow, their programs are doing really well, they're winning, they're productive, and we're doing it the right way. And at the same time, boy, wasn't that a great experience? Wasn't that a lot of fun to be able to have some different things? And so for us, piecing all that together, it's been a lot of fun. And we've seen some significant growth. It helps when you win. But, I mean, our football program went from 1 win 3 years ago to being 24th in the country this past year at 8-3.
Nice.
And as a result of that, it's great. It's probably all because of the video board, I'm sure. But,
definitely.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, absolutely. But for us, it was so great because all of a sudden people then were in the stands. And so we had almost triple the attendance we did this year compared to the previous year. And well, now all of a sudden we got more people in the stands. You got more success. And on top of that, they're having a better experience. And so all those things wrapped together is what makes my job fun. And in many cases, like the video board is a large part of that because it's fun that, I'll go home after a Saturday football game and I'm exhausted, but I wake up the next day and I'm like, boy, that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And a lot of different elements because it allows me as my coaching inner abilities, I guess, to kind of use my competitive nature in a different way. And that if something goes wrong with the video board, I'm probably going to yell at the person up in the press box, that poor kid that's doing it, whatever. And the kid that ran it for me this year was actually a basketball player that I had recruited. And so he was probably used to being yelled at anyway. It didn't matter. But nonetheless, it's kind of fun for me because I want it, done at the right time and indicated and play this video at this time. And we try to create an emotion in the stands that kind of depicts what's going on. And for us, that's been a lot of fun.
And you talk about you're looking for people that are passionate about it. I can definitely tell from talking with you today that you are one of those people that are passionate about it.
Yeah, I just wish I was more educated about it. It's one of those deals. I just tell them what I want done and just do it. I don't know exactly how to do it. I just tell them how I want done. I'm like, hey, Nebraska did this. Why don't you do that? And they're like, what? I'm like, I don't care how you do it. Just make it happen. And so usually they're pretty good about that. So I'll take my passion and let somebody else do the hard work, I guess.
Nice. Well, Tony,
great leadership there, probably.
Yeah, definitely. They call that delegating, right?
Yeah, right. That's a good word. Good word.
Well, Tony, thanks for coming on today and sharing all this information with us. It was great to hear from you.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. It's been fun to kind of reconnect as far as what Daktronics has done for us. Before we were not a Daktronics school in any capacity. And so it's been fun for us to be able to grow this relationship and appreciate you guys reaching out. It's been a little bit since we've had some Daktronics talks. And so I had to rethink about some of the enjoyment that we had with that process. So it's been good.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Tony. It's been a sheer pleasure talking with you today.
All right. Thank you. You guys take care.
You too. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Daktronics Experience Podcast. Please subscribe at your favorite place to listen to podcasts to keep up with our latest episodes.